Hey, thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. Today I thought I would just talk a little bit about doing Altered Rolodex or Memorydex cards. I know this fad started almost 9 years ago from what I can see online, and I was kind of late to the game with it, but I'm having a ball doing these little mixed media projects. So I'm finding that I like doing these little cards just for something to grab a quick card, sit down, take a break, and do an art project that you can see some quick results. Other than when you do it in a big art journal, sometimes it takes hours and hours to complete an art journal page. So if you're one of the people that loves doing these, I know people are still doing swaps and trading these Altered Rolodex or Memorydex cards. So lots of people are still having fun with these. And what I thought I'd do today is to just give some ideas for adding sayings and lettering. So maybe this will give you some ideas to step outside the box. We all get in a rut with our art making, and maybe I'll give you some ideas that you hadn't thought of ways to add little sayings to your Memorydex or Altered Rolodex cards. Since these are such a small and tiny little space to work in, it sometimes is hard to come up with ways to put little tiny words onto your cards. But I do love adding sayings to them. I like them on my little Rolodex, and I like to have sayings that I can flip through, see the artwork, and then see a positive saying. So if you're one of those people that likes to add sayings, I've got some great ideas here, so let me show you a few. The idea is using a book. This is a book called Refresh, and it is just a book with little sayings. They're positive sayings throughout the book, and some of them are kind of big, but some of them are small, and it looks nice sometimes to take a saying. Like this card I created, and I pulled out of this book the saying, "Laughter is an instant vacation." I tore it and I added it to my card. I did some rubber stamping with three-dimensional popping them up. Same with the leaves. I did some leaves and popped it up. I did a gold trim. So this makes a beautiful card with that fun saying from a book. So maybe there's a quote in a book, a regular book, where there's some book text, and maybe it's your favorite book. How about Alice in Wonderland? You could take a quote out of that book. If you didn't want to destroy the book, you could scan it or photograph it, print it, and use that saying, and then do a theme on your card for Alice in Wonderland. So books are a great way to come up with a saying for your little Rolodex card. Here's another fun one. So if you have a book that you have removed the pages from and you're making a journal, maybe a junk journal out of, and we keep these blocks of book text. I use one on my table for doing all my my inking and stamping and things, and use it as a palette for paints, and then I can just tear the pages off and throw them away. But another thing that you can do with old book text that you've removed from old books is to cut out the words in the book to make a saying, a little saying for your card. So here's an example. I put pencil around it. You could put this on a card, life, and put ... a series of colored pictures. How cute would that be for a saying on one of these cards? So you can look at any page and find words, and then just fussy cut out the words and glue them down onto your card. And because they're small, they'd be the perfect text for adding a saying to a Rolodex card. In fact, I like this example so much, I just tore it out of the book, and I'm going to put it aside for my next Rolodex card. Another example is hand lettering. So this one I did, the base is a nice chipboard piece that I covered with scrapbooking paper, and then I added a rubber stamped teacup. I painted the teacup plain. It did have flowers on it. I painted it plain, and then I did hand lettering for time for tea. I added my little tea bag tag, and then a cute tag inside of a girl at a cafe enjoying her tea. So hand lettering is something that the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And if you've watched my videos on art journaling, especially my flip through books on like the Tisha Morse style art journals, I absolutely love to do hand lettering. It's one of my favorite things. So if maybe you say, well, that's not for me, I don't like my hand lettering, practice. Practice makes perfect. If you don't feel like you can do it right away with a pen, then pencil it out first so that you get the letters lined up the way you like. Then use your paint pen to come in and add some words to it, add the paint to it, and make it beautiful. So it's special when it's your own handwriting. So hand lettering is another fun example. How about using the Tim Holtz Ideaology little sayings books? Some are bigger, some are smaller. Here's what the bigger ones look like. I used a stamp from Jane Davenport. I rounded out the skirt and popped it up so it gives it some movement and shape. I added a little peace sign to her neck. I added a little necklace, did a fun background, and put the words "seek peace, be happy." And those words are in the larger version of the Tim Holtz book. So these are fun, and you can also go around the edges, distress them with some distress ink, and make them look really fun and go with your card design. The smaller ones have actual sayings that are already in a saying instead of just a few little words. So like this one, if you're lucky enough to be different, never change. So this one was done with napkin image over a Rolodex card, and then I just added some watercolor paints to it to bump it up, put a little brass starfish charm, and the saying is from the Tim Holtz Ideaology book. So here are the fun sayings. They're nice and small, so they're a perfect size for doing Rolodex, altered Rolodex sayings or Memorydex cards. So this one was a rubber stamped image. I stamped it, and then it's the little things that make life big. And I drew the little cobblestones. I used Petal Soft to make the little green grass, glue that on, and made this cute little card. I did a sky in the background just using some acrylic paint and a sponge. And then I did some pencil work with colored pencil in between the houses. Just made it fun and interesting. But here's how cute the little saying fits on the card. So the smaller sayings in the Ideology Small Talk fit perfectly on these Rolodex, Altered Rolodex, or Memorydex cards. In that same line, how about using words that come from magazine? Now this is big, of course. Some of these are really big. But you could go through a magazine and you could find words that are small, and you could do a ransom style type of saying, kind of like with the Tim Holtz. These are stick-on, but these are individual words, and you make the saying yourself by putting them together. So why couldn't you do that from magazines? So go through your magazine, find articles and ads, cut out some words, and cut them out and make them into a saying. So don't overlook your magazine images. Of course, you just would want to look for really small fonts, really small lettering. Great lettering for these little cards are mini rubber stamp sets. Now these are so tiny. These letters are super, super small. They come on a little piece of wood like this. They're super tiny and fun. And you can find these at your local craft and hobby shop. I know here in the United States, both Joann's and Michael's, and maybe even Hobby Lobby, Joann's and Michael's especially, carries these in their bins up front that are like their $1 and $2 bins. So for $1 or maybe $2, you can find a cute stamp set, a little mini stamp set, and they're perfect to use on such little tiny projects. Another type of stamps that I love, they are more pricey, and I can put a link in the description box below for them. These are snap together stamp sets. So what I love about these is you can make your word and you snap the letters together. So, and there is only one way that they can go, so you can never get an upside down letter or an upside down word. I don't know if you're like me, but if you've ever been rubber stamping letters or words onto something and you think you have the stamp right and you stamp it and it's upside down, or maybe it's crooked. So that's what these are great about. They snap together and it makes the word very straight. It stamps very straight, obviously, because it's snapped together, and there's only one way to snap them. So there's one side that has the tab and one side that has the groove, and you can't put them upside down or backwards. They designed it that way so that they can only go one way, and you can make your words, stamp it, and you could stamp it directly onto your card after you've decorated it, or you could stamp it onto separate paper or cardstock or rice paper or tissue paper and cut them out, tear them out, and then glue them into place onto your little card. So these snap together stamp sets are really, really cool. It's an investment, but once you've collected a set or two with different fonts and you start using them, I find that these are my go-to even more than the little inexpensive individual stamps. These are good if you want to make your letters crooked on purpose. You know, if you ever tried to put your letters back and forth and make it look whimsical, these work great for that too, because you can't get it wrong. But if you want yours to line up and be straight, try these snap together rubber stamps, and they're very tiny, so the lettering is super small and it fits great on a Rolodex card. How about cling rubber stamps? This was gifted to me in some Happy Mail. Thank you, Mimi. And it's got these beautiful butterflies and then this cute saying of this one right here is the one that I used, that nothing ever changed. If nothing ever changed, there'd be no butterflies. I love that, and I added that to this card. So I stamped and collaged butterflies onto this card. I put some of the Tim Holtz butterflies behind, and then I stamped the saying directly onto the card. So I stamped it once onto the card to have the saying, and then I stamped it a second time on cardstock, colored the little inchworm, and then put a little pop dot behind it to pop it up. So there's a really cute saying on a card, and it's using the clear cling stamps. Here's another fun example. This is book text, and it's a Jane Davenport rubber stamp, and I stamped it. I put the book text over the card. I stamped the Jane Davenport face. I did her hair in paint, acrylic paint. I added a fold-up pop-up butterfly. This lettering here is from the Tim Holtz ephemera tissue, so it's got letters and words here and here. It's not specifically a saying, but it does add some interest to the card with letters and words. So here's a blast from the past and a great idea too. How about a manual typewriter? So this card needs more decoration. It's just in the initial stages, but while it's still flat, I have an old manual typewriter, and I'm going to go put this into the typewriter and type the words right onto the card before I add my pop-up embellishments and three-dimensional things. So I type the saying, with each new sunrise, I am reminded I can begin again. So that's another great way of putting words onto your little cards, is using a typewriter. And I know that in a lot of thrift stores you can find manual typewriters. Some may need a little bit repair or work, but I had one for years, and now I use it all the time in my art journaling and for things like this, and I love the typed look. You can type onto obviously cardstock or printer paper. You can also type onto rice paper, and then when you tear the rice paper, you can put it on with matte gel medium, and it gets kind of see-through and translucent, and the image in the back will show through it. It's really fun to work with. So rice paper is super inexpensive and fun to type on. So there's another great idea, using very, very small sticker letters. So in the card making and scrapbooking paper crafting section in your local craft store, you can still find little sets of very, very tiny letters where you could make words and create something really fun with those on your page. So here's some examples of small sets of letters that are little sticker letters. So sticker letters would be great. If you put a sticker letter down onto your card, you might want to follow it up with either applying a little bit of matte gel medium first, then stick them down, put a piece of paper over it, brayer it so they get a really, really nice seal, and then brush over them again with your matte gel medium, and then they'll stick really well and they won't come off your card. Also, little tiny sets of rub-ons. These are so super tiny, I can't even tell you. Super, super, super tiny. And they are rub-on letters These are in the craft section in the hobbies for like making models. They use them on model airplanes and little cars and trains and things to put words on, and they're rub-on, and they're super tiny size font. So you can find those in your local craft store, and they can be just put down on your card and rubbed on, which is really nice. That's a great thing to use as a rub-on, because you can do all your decorating and then put the little rub-ons on and it'll stay put. How about using a labeler? The labeler, the Dymo labeler, has a very small size. There's like 3 different sizes of fonts you can choose, and the small one prints out quite small. So you can type up little strips that have a cute saying on them. There's punctuation. Print it out, it peels, and then you can stick it right to your card. So use a labeler. That's another great idea. And the labeler refills come in a glossy plastic kind of a label, but then you can also get a paper label. So the paper labels would be super great for that project. You could pop the cartridge out, put the paper one in, print out your cute little saying, and then you could distress the edges of it with your little sponge and distress ink. So check that out for the paper labels for a Dymo label printer. Okay, now as the kids say, let's kick it old school, really old school. How about the click labelers? When I was a kid, I thought this was the best thing next to buttered bread. It's got a dial, and you turn the dial to the letter, pull it, it prints out, you move to the next one, it progresses, you put in cartridges of this plasticized little tape roll, and it embosses into the tape roll and you can make words and all kinds of stuff, numbers. There's a little place where you can cut it, so you squeeze it and cut it and pull it out. These little label makers make the cutest labels for Rolodex and Memorydex cards. I've got 2 different kinds here that print a different type of a font. They're super old. This one's Scotch and this one is Astro, but I do know they are still making them, and if you can find one of these online, maybe a current one. I know for a while there some of the scrapbooking companies were making them because people were using this on scrapbook pages probably about 10 or 15 years ago. So you never know, but find a click style. Here, let's do one. So how fun is that? Here's a raised embossed word that I just created. You could create a whole saying on it. This particular one prints a little bit of a bigger font, so it's not going to fit quite as good. But what about a word like happiness or smile? You could add that, and you could do hand lettering in very small that say, don't forget to smile as your focal in spite of things. So you could make that like your focal word, but super easy, and then they peel off and stick. So there's another fun way of adding words to your cards. How about pen and ink calligraphy? That's always fun too. I have the old style pen and ink dip type of pen, and doing calligraphy on these cards is really fun too, so that might be another fun way to go. So have I forgotten anything? If I have, and you have another fun idea for adding words and letters to your Rolodex, Altered Rolodex, or Memorydex cards, leave the comment in the description box below and let us know your ideas for adding words and phrases if there's something I've forgotten. So I hope this gives you some great ideas though, some fun things to keep you busy, keep you inspired for making these cute little cards, and add some cute sayings and words to your Rolodex and Memorydex cards. Thanks for stopping by. Go make some little mini art, because little mini art even soothes our heart.